Okay, in this section we're just going to talk a little bit about how this course is organized. So what I'm looking at right here is I'm looking at the learning guides section from this introductory unit. This is section B called course organization. So you should probably, if you're watching the video, maybe open up that course organization thing as well if you want to follow along, or if you can see if you can read it well enough in this video, then just by all means read along. But even after the video, you might want to scan through it a little bit just to make sure you understand what's going on. Because I'm not going to read every single word that's on here. So first off, this is Calculus and Vectors. That's the name of the course. You can read the standard boilerplate here about what we're going to be doing in this course. Talks a lot about what we're going to be doing in the calculus section of the course, less about what we're going to be doing in the vectors portion of the course, and we start with the vectors portion of the course, so we won't go through that right now. You have to have taken advanced functions to be here, so I'm assuming that all of you have done that or are taking that right now. Here is the stuff that's specific to this course. This course is organized into 20 units, so each unit is about a week's worth of work. Okay, so every week we will be moving on to a new unit, and we will be starting basically a new topic here. A full listing of all of this stuff can be found in the course tracking sheet. Now, if you haven't taken a look at the course tracking sheet yet, you should absolutely take a look at it right now. You should print it out. You should have it handy. This is like the main document for the course that lists everything that you're going to need to be able to do. So I'm going to open it right now. Course outline and tracking sheet, and here it is. So what you can see is a list of all of the units that we're going to cover. We're right here right now on course introduction. We move into geometric vectors, which is unit 1, 2, units 1 and 2. Then units 3 and 4 are on algebraic vectors, then equations of lines, and so on and so on and so on. On the left hand column here you can see the week, which we should be working on each of these things. You can see that there are basically 20 weeks in the course, up to and including the exam time. So you've got 20 weeks to do basically 20 units worth of work. Dates are listed for each week. In the assignment column, it lists the assignment that you are going to do in each section of the course. So there is one assignment basically for each unit of the course. So in week 2, you're going to be submitting the Introduction to Vectors assignment. In week 3, you're going to be submitting the Applications of Vectors assignment, and so on and so on. Also, the due dates are listed right here that each assignment is due. I think most of these dates are Sundays, so what I would kind of recommend doing is during the week, so Monday through Friday, you are working away on the learning guides, you're watching the videos, you are doing the practice questions so that you understand all of the content in there, asking me any questions that you have along the way or any concepts that you're not exactly clear with, and then maybe towards the end of the week, on the Friday, you might start working on the assignment. And then if you have trouble with the assignment, you can always take a little bit of time on the Saturday and Sunday to finish it off and get it handed in. And then the next week, well, you start the whole process again, moving on to the next unit. Over here, you can see the weight that is given towards your final mark for each one of these things. Basically, each unit is worth the same amount, and all of the unit weights add up to 70%. We've got 2 exams in this course. We've got a vectors exam, which you are going to write just before midterm marks are submitted. So that looks like the week of April 1st to 6th. Now you're going to have to schedule that exam with, get somebody at your home school to supervise it. But you'll get more details on that as we get closer and closer to that date. So that vectors exam is worth 12% of your overall mark. And then down towards the end of the course here, we move in here and we do all of our calculus units. And then you have another exam on just the calculus portion of the course. That exam is worth 18% of your final mark. So those 2 exams together add up to 30%. So exams are worth 30% of your total mark. And the division between the 2 exams, the calculus exam is roughly 60% of the exam mark. The vectors exam is roughly 40% of the exam mark. That's also how the term mark is divided up. Vectors are worth about 40% of your mark. Calculus is worth about 60% of your mark. So important document here. Make sure you take a look at it so you understand how things are going to work in the course, and so you can sort of follow along. The other great thing about this document is it also has links to all of the learning guides that you're going to be using in the Google Doc format. So if I click on Zero Course Introduction, it of course takes you to the overview for this topic that we're working on right now, or this unit. Of course, you can see the expectations here, you can see the list of assignments here, you can see the individual instructions for each one of the sections of this unit here that you can follow along on. So if you're the kind of person who likes to really stay organized and is really worried about missing things out, you might actually want to print out this overview for each one of the units, and then as you complete these topics, A, B, C, D, and so on, just check them off. The content units are going to have a little bit more detail here in the instructions, so you might want to check off individual little things on this list. So for instance, if you were working away on the next section on the introductions, if you had read pages C1 to C2, you could just check that off, and then you would, when you came back to work on it again, you would know that you would had to do the next thing on the list that hadn't been checked off. Okay, so course overviews, unit overviews files are really useful. Course tracking sheet is really important as well. They all have links to the other stuff in them. Okay, so going back to course organization page here, we have taken a look at the tracking sheet. So assessment and evaluation, as I mentioned, there's an assignment for each unit of the course. You'll be submitting one of those basically on a weekly basis. I've talked about the exams right here when we were looking at the tracking sheet. How do you submit assignments and how do you get feedback on your assignments? Well, as you saw in that overview thing, that's going to be a topic that is covered later in this introductory unit. So you're going to do a couple of activities later on where you actually submit an assignment and check your feedback. Here is a big thing right down here. The assignments are basically open book. Okay, you can refer back to the content when you're working on them. You basically have as much time as you need in order to do them. The exams, on the other hand, work like regular exams. So you are going to be in a room where you're supervised by a teacher. You're going to be writing your solutions out on paper. You're not going to have access to your notes. You're not going to have a formula sheet. You're not going to have any of those, any electronic support beyond a scientific calculator. So you can use the assignments to learn the content, but we're going to have to do you're going to have to do a lot of work, and I'm going to have to do a lot of work to actually get you ready to write the exams, because they're very different from the assignments. So just exactly how we do this, we're going to cover later on. It might take the form of some practice tests or some practice assignments or practice quizzes or things like that that you can rewrite sort of under exam format. But we'll figure that out as we go along. Okay. And that's basically it for course organization. So if there are things that you're still confused about, you can either send me an email or post a message in the Asked Questions discussion forum, and so that all your classmates can see it.